You've most likely played Halo and Call of Duty at some point, even if you never owned the games yourself. These two games pushed a new type of gameplay to the mainstream by introducing online competitive multiplayer to console gamers. This new way of playing games is what caused the franchises that took advantage of it to have such a profound effect on their players, and it's what allowed them to create such positive lasting memories in pretty much anyone that played them. It's easy to get nostalgic about these kinds of memories from these games, but at the end of the day, no matter how long you wait, no matter how good the game is or how well it aged, you will never feel the same way you did that first time you picked it up all those years ago. Having a knowledge of current generation games, you'll start to notice things you either didn't notice or didn't care about back then when you played these classics. The controls may feel more clunky than you remembered, the graphics will look worse than you remembered, and in the end you just won't feel as jazzed about the game as you did back in the day. And that's just the unfortunate reality of nostalgia. So why am I talking about this in a video about virtual reality gaming? It's because VR has the ability to invoke a phenomenon similar to nostalgia, but much grander. It doesn't really have a word yet, as far as I know, so for now I will be calling it the VR effect. Let me explain. Over the past few years, VR has started to see its first good flat-screen ports. For example, recently Resident Evil 4 VR was released for the Quest 2, and it was an incredibly successful and well-made port that makes it one of those essential VR games you can recommend to anyone, right up there with the greats like Beat Saber. In addition, we've also got more ports coming in the future, such as Grand Theft Auto San Andreas VR. But it doesn't just stop at straight-up ports. We have games like Pavlov and Contractors, which both have heavy-duty modding support, and the modding communities for these games have made some excellent stuff, with my favorite being recreations of old-school Call of Duty and Halo maps. Some very talented people have managed to port all of the most popular maps from the first 3 Halo games, as well as all the popular Call of Duty games from the Xbox 360 era. Remember Modern Warfare 2 Terminal? We got it. Raid from Black Ops 2? Looks better than I remembered it looking on the 360. The Pit from Halo 3? You bet. And it's not just the maps either. It's the models, guns, sound effects, everything that makes the experience what it is.
Slayer.
Oh, that's so cool.
Running around as a Halo Spartan and being able to see your own body, reloading your battle rifle with your own 2 hands instead of a button on a controller, is just something that can't be experienced without VR. This is where the VR effect comes in. You might remember playing some matches on Terminal, one of the best maps ever. You can always go back and try to get a lobby of people to play it again, but you'll never feel as good about the experience as you did the first few times you played. This isn't true when VR is involved. When I load into a team deathmatch on Terminal and Contractors or Pavlov, it's a whole new experience. It makes me remember the games more fondly than when I originally played them. It's like literally being in a memory. Playing these modded maps and game modes in VR provides such a different and arguably better experience than going back and playing them on their original hardware. With VR, you go from simply remembering the glory days to fully experiencing those glory days. Running around Valhalla from Halo 3 with the same guns, same scenery, same character Spartan models, same insanely high time to kill. Not only reminds me of all my memories playing on this map when I was younger, but also allows me to form new memories and experiences that aren't negatively influenced by the rose-tinted glasses that I'm looking back on this game through. And of course, it's not just these 2 games that have this effect. I'm a huge fan of the Resident Evil franchise, with 4 being one of my all-time favorite games ever. I've played through Resident Evil 4 at least 100 times on a dozen different consoles, and as much as I love that game, it does get a little boring with each run. Things start to look the same and get predictable. I'm no longer taking my time to look at the world and the scenery. I'm skipping cutscenes pretty much always, but I still kept coming back because the game is so good. When the VR version came out, I looked at it as another excuse to run through Resident Evil 4, and that was enough for me to pick it up. But what I got in the end was completely beyond just another replay of the game. Playing through Resident Evil 4 in VR felt like an entirely different experience, despite the fact that I was still playing the same game I've beaten over and over again. The game never felt bland. I was taking my time to look at everything around me and appreciate the game as a whole, and I never even skipped one cutscene because the presentation was all so new and exciting to me. After playing Resident Evil 4 VR, I don't think I'll ever be able to play the game again in any other way. I actually did try to play it a little on my Nintendo Switch one day when my power went out, and the whole time I was just thinking to myself, man, I could be playing this game in VR right now. And this will most likely be true for all future VR ports, assuming they're well made like Resident Evil 4 was. Pressure's on, Rockstar. If you own a VR headset and have nostalgia for any of these games, you owe it to yourself to re-experience them in VR. The easiest way to jump into it if you just want to do some Call of Duty or Halo maps is to play Contractors. It's available on the Quest and PC with pretty much all the maps being cross-platform. The PC VR version of Pavlov also has amazing mods and game modes. This game excels at the slower paced stuff such as bomb defusal from Counter-Strike Go. The Counter-Strike Go maps are insanely well made, and since Pavlov is so similar to Counter-Strike in terms of mechanics, it works out perfectly. That being said, Pavlov on PC has been slowly dying. There are not many people online these days, and I think it might be because the game hasn't been updated in forever, while its competitors like Contractors have been pumping out more and more content every month. You might be thinking that it's weird for a channel called Old School Overload to be focusing so much on VR content, but that's the thing. VR isn't just about futuristic experiences. We have some truly amazing games like Bone Lab, Walking Dead Saints and Sinners, Into the Radius, and a bunch more, with some of these games being enough on their own to warrant picking up a headset. But in addition to these amazing new experiences, we also have the ability to relive our old school gaming memories in a new way that simply wouldn't be possible without VR. And I have a feeling this is only the start. Ever since the success of Resident Evil 4 VR, a lot of attention has been brought to porting flat-screen games to VR. We have the announcement of Grand Theft Auto San Andreas, we got Green Hell and City Skylines on Quest, and if the momentum keeps going, I could see a lot more popular classic games being ported to VR. In addition to the official ports, there have also been some amazing breakthroughs in the modding scene. Very recently, we got a full release of Half-Life 2 in VR. The full campaign is playable in VR. And recently a VR injector mod was released to the public, which basically will allow anyone with the know-how to port any Unreal Engine game to VR very easily. And if you already know how many games are made in Unreal Engine, you know how big of a deal this will be. Overall, as an old school gaming enthusiast, I've never felt more excited about modern technology. If you made it this far, thanks so much for watching. Drop a like or a sub if this video got you interested in VR, and if you already have a headset, hop on to Contractors and go relive your favorite gaming memories in VR. Maybe I'll see you running around Hijacked or Terminal sometime. Have a good rest of your day.
I guess let's clear this room and then head back that way.
Oh shit, my bad, dude.
That's
oh
okay.
my god. I didn't realize there was a third on our team.